To you, my Yah, do I lift up my soul. And trusting you, he always kept me whole. And left my enemies deep in their holes. Let none that wait on Yahweh be ashamed. Put shame on those who sin without a cause. Show me your ways, please teach me your laws. Oh Elohim of my salvation, I'm staying down impatient. As a child, all the while I'm waiting. Remember not the sins of my youth. Lead me in your truth, and he'll give your soul ease. The earth shall remain inherited by a seed. The secret of Yahweh who fears Elohim, a fool believes everything. And to every word spoken, you can't take heed unless you hear somebody curse. You know you did the same thing. That's why I'm begging Yah for mercy and His love and kindness, cause I know that I ain't worthy.
Captivity is taking hold upon me. For frighten me and now we flee from fallen leaves. The grinding grief from all the blood our people seen. And now we cry, where is the word from Elohim? And so we feel that we are as wise to be submissive, but we dismiss it. It is of this reason we have fallen victim to the lies that your root will prey and pursue. Rebellious of the Son, forgotten that He is one. Broken the holy ordinance, rejection of reproof. Then acknowledge what we do. Now we return back to the truth.
Yah's word is the truth. Yah's decrees is the proof. Local 12 just released the scoop. It's the summer of Sam. They calling it Pam. Made us worship the Son of Man. And somehow that the moon, they stole our style and gave it to Rothschild. Now we exalt the vow, but hit the turnstile. Yah's Nabi set the crooked things straight. Praise Yah from the rising to the evening to the closing the gate. Exposing the fake. Yah give the truth a day break. Now the liars can't escape and the haters can't relate to the light the truth makes. See the wicked pride deflate. Ye adore Yah, magnify Yah, cut His grace.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, giving all praise and honor to the Holy One of Israel, to the Creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein is, by saying hallelujah. Praise the mighty Yah. Yah is righteous. Yah is holy. And let Yahweh be magnified. Once again, the Creator has allowed us to come before you another day. This sixth day of the week, toward the end of the week, to bring to you His great and exalted words, even the word of Yah. My name is Mowreh IshiYAH YIsraEL of the house of Israel, located right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, 1907 Vine Street, bringing you nothing but the truth. And yes, it is true. All we're going to do is tell you the truth For Yah ordained me to tell you the truth. So this is what I'm going to do. And who is this Yah? Yah is the creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein is. Yah is the Elohim of our fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and YIsraEL, whom you may know as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yah is our king. He is our judge. He is our only lawgiver, our only Savior, and not just of Israel, but Savior of the world. And I praise Almighty Yah for coming to you, for allowing us to come to you once again this great and glorious day. Today, we will be speaking on Yahweh's holy days. There's 7 holy days that we as a people must concern ourselves with. And we are a people, a holy people, a special and peculiar people unto Yahweh. So Yahweh gave us certain appointed times that we can come before him in holiness to gather ourselves together. And you will find that these various holidays that our people are celebrating, the world is celebrating, the U.S. is celebrating, have nothing to do with Yahweh at all. Nothing to do with him at all. As a matter of fact, all the various holidays that you might know of are not religious, period. They're not even in the scriptures at all. These things were born out of paganism, but not the holy days. The holy days are the word of Yah. Of course, the Creator's words, the Creator's laws, and particularly his holy days, have today and in the past have been under assault. Even to the extent that even now many Israelites saying we don't even have to keep the holy appointed times of Yahweh. Well, not only they are mistaken and in error and wrong, but so are the world religious bodies. And we're going to discuss these holy days in order. And we're going to touch on them all tonight. And it's very important that we touch on them tonight because we are in the beginning of our year. We are in the first month of our year. And we are in our holy season. Or entering into our holy season. Yes, it is true, many Israelites have already celebrated the Passover and unleavened bread. And of course, this is consistent with the various appointed times of our enemies. However, it is still relevant whether you have already started celebrating certain things or not, that you know the law. Because the law is our life and the length of our days. It is the word of Yah. So let me share with you Yahweh's great word. And right before I take you to the book of Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, I just want to remind everyone what the Creator said our enemies would do. You'll find this in the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter. And let me get Daniel, the 7th chapter. In the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter, this is what it says in the 23rd verse. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, shall tread it down, and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them. And he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. Now watch what this horn will do. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. Of course, most people don't know what these times are, so they don't know really how long this is. But just give you a little insight, when it says they shall be given into his hand until a time, well, the Hebrew word that this comes from, and times, and the Hebrew word that comes from, and the dividing of time, well, the Hebrew word is yom. The time that the Creator is letting us know that will be divided up and that will be multiplied is a certain number of days. And these days are over the course of hundreds of years. But the Creator let us know, but the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it until the end. So, as the Most High let us know all over the scriptures, he will make darkness light. He will make the crooked things straight. And he will magnify the law and make it honorable. This is what the Most High said he would do. And so let us deal with these holy days so that you can know how to approach, how to keep, and how to celebrate the various days that Yahweh commanded us. And let us start reading this in the book of Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. And let's see what the Creator himself mentioned first. In the book of Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, this is what it says, starting at the very first verse. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of Yah, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations. Even these are my feasts. And when the Creator points out that these are his feasts, he's speaking of these are holy convocations that certain sacrifices had to be on. These are not the type of feasts where you go and just have a barbecue and come together and you just out in the park playing baseball and basketball. No. These feasts are sacrifices unto Yah. And yes, they are celebrated, but they are celebrated according to his words. And watch what it says. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest and holy convocation. In other words, a holy meeting, a holy gathering, a holy outing, a calling out of the people. Now, of course, this presents a dilemma to a lot of our people who believe that they just supposed to stay home in the bed, who believe they can just stay home and lounge on the couch. Now, I know there's a lot of our people who don't have various congregations to go to. I understand that. But we're still talking about the law. And this is what the law says. And so I'm not speaking about those who cannot fulfill the various obligation that the Creator mandated that we should do. Because there are things you just can't make a congregation be in your city. You just can't make people gather together. So I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about those who have refused to adhere and listen to the word of the Most High. He says 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest and holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. It is a Sabbath of Yahweh in all your dwellings. Of course, they will tell you that these dwellings is not all, meaning no matter where you at on the earth. All just talking about your land. And all don't mean land. And dwellings don't mean land either. Dwellings mean where you live. That's why it says all your dwellings. It's talking about where you live. And I'm going to show you that. First of all, you should know that it's not just talking about a land, because Yahweh himself kept the Sabbath. And where did he keep it? Watch what the Creator said in the book of Genesis, the 2nd chapter. Now hold your page, because we're going right back to Leviticus 23. And what are we discussing? We're discussing the holy days. Genesis, the 2nd chapter, the 1st verse, and it says, Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the hosts of them. And on the seventh day, Elohim ended his work which he had made. And he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And Elohim blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which Elohim created and made. So here the Almighty says, since he rested from all his work, he told us that we shall rest from all our work. And here today, many of our people will allow religion to teach them otherwise. They will allow religion to teach them that, no, you don't have to remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. You can just go to church on Sunday, and that will cure all your problems. And the Creator will be satisfied with that. And then you have other people who say, well, you don't have to regard that because you're not in the land of Israel. You're not in the land of Canaan today. So you can disregard the word of Yah. There is no time where you can disregard Yahweh's word. Yahweh's word is not like man's word, where it's tied to a geographical location. Either you keep the law or not. And what is the law? The law are the very instructions that Yahweh gives us. So if the instructions saying we must keep it because we're in the land, then that's the instructions. But if the instructions say you can't do that as a result of you not being in the land, then you can't do it. And Yahweh never said that about the Sabbath day. The fourth verse. These are the feasts of Yah, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. And we're going to go over there, but let me show you a couple of other things about this holy convocation concerning the Sabbath day that we were to do in all of our dwellings. Since a lot of people want you to believe otherwise. But not so with Yah. Watch what Yah say in the book of Exodus, the 23rd chapter. In the book of Exodus 23, th verse. 6 days thou shalt do thy work, and on the seventh day thou shalt rest, that thy ox and thy ass may rest, the son of thy handmaid, and the stranger may be refreshed. Now, who don't want to do that? Here it is, the Creator, for his mercy endure forever, giving us an opportunity to rest ourselves, to refresh ourselves as he did himself. And for our servants to rest, and even for our beasts to rest. But we have those who say, well, nobody needs rest. Just rest when you want to. Disregard the Creator's word and hearken to my words. That sounds like the serpent in the Garden of Eden. That's what the serpent said in the Garden of Eden. Look here, man. Elohim you're not going to die. Your eyes are going to be open. And you'll be like the Elohims knowing good from evil. In other words, disregard the word of Yah. This is the spirit in the heart of the serpent. So when you have people tell you to disregard Yahweh's word and hearken unto their words, be aware that the serpent is in your midst. Furthermore, speaking of this great Sabbath, in the book of Exodus 31, turn there. Not only the Creator said we were to rest, but watch what he said about this Sabbath in the 12th verse. Exodus 31 and 12. And Yah spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily, my Sabbath ye shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am Yahweh that do sanctify you. Ye shall keep the Sabbath therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days may work be done, but in the 7th is the Sabbath of rest, holy to Yahweh. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. In 6 days Yah made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. So the Almighty let us know not only he rested, he wanted us to rest. And he said the Sabbath is a sign between him and us. That he has sanctified us, separated us, and that we might know it is he that separated us. And what better thing would you want to know? That you're doing this not because of what man has said to you. You're not doing this because what a religion says you must do. But you're only doing this because Yahweh himself said do this. So don't let other people trick you and bamboozle you and make you think you following after man, because you're not. This is the word of Yah, and this came out of his mouth. And Yahweh said nothing else about any other day. But let us continue. That is the great Sabbath day. And let me show you one scripture to prove beyond a shadow of doubt. When Yahweh said that we were to keep the Sabbath in all our dwellings, he meant all our dwellings. And what do that mean? That means where we live. Watch this in the book of Ezekiel, the 37th chapter. Now, some people will have you to believe, well, we don't have sacrifices. That's why we can't keep the Sabbath day. And I'm going to show you that's a lie. In the book of Ezekiel 37, and watch what it says. Creator lets us know in the book of Ezekiel 37 and 21. And say unto them, thus is Yah Elohim, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side, and bring them into their own land. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all. And they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all. Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions, but I will save them out of all their dwelling places. In other words, where's their dwelling places? I thought all your dwellings was just in the land. But Yahweh said he's going to save us out of all our dwelling places. In other words, everywhere we live, wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their Elohim. So no, all your dwellings is not just in the land. All your dwellings is where you live. And just like Yahweh will save us from all our dwelling places, Yahweh told us to remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy, and that we were to have a holy convocation in all our dwellings. That means a holy calling out. We call the people out. Because all through the week, the Almighty sent the prophets to the people. But on the Sabbath day, that is the day that the people had to go to the man of Elohim. Now let us go back to Leviticus 23. The very next holy day, and that was the Sabbath day. That is the Shabbat. The next holy day. In the 5th verse, it says, in the 14th day of the first month at even is Yah's Passover. This is when the Creator wanted the Passover to be celebrated, the 14th day at even of the first month. This is what many of our people have done. This is what many of our people are yet doing. Of course, the Creator was very specific about the Passover. And let me show you how specific he was. Well, Yahweh is specific about all his days that he called holy and that you were to reverence. And watch what the Creator say about the Passover in the book of Deuteronomy, the 16th chapter. In the book of Deuteronomy 16. And we're going to start so I can get right to the point. We'll start at the first verse. Deuteronomy 16:1. Observe the month of Abib. How we do that, Yah? And keep the Passover unto Yah thy Elohim. For in the month of Abib, Yah Elohim brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. So in other words, Yahweh saying we observe this month because this is the time, this is the month in which he brought us out of Egypt. By night. Thou shalt therefore sacrifice the Passover unto Yah Elohim of the flock and of the herd, and the place where Yahweh shall choose to place his name there. So in other words, this is very specific. Here it is. Yahweh said that we were to sacrifice the Passover of the flock or the herd in the place where he chose to place his name in. If you want to know where Yahweh chose to place his name, all we have to do is turn a few pages to Deuteronomy the 12th chapter. And watch what it says. Just hold your page at Deuteronomy 16, though. You notice it didn't say that about the Sabbath day. That you keep the Sabbath day in a place where Yahweh chose to place his name. It didn't say that at all. As a matter of fact, it said with the Sabbath day, you were to keep that in all your dwellings. But in the book of Deuteronomy, the 12th chapter, watch what it says. And we're going to start reading at the 4th verse. Ye shall not do so unto Yah your Elohim, but unto the place which Yah your Elohim shall choose out of all your tribes to put his name there. Even unto his habitation shall ye seek, there shall you come, and there shall you bring your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, your tithes, heave offerings of your hands, your vows, your free will offerings, and the firstlings of your herds and of your flocks. And what is the Passover? The Passover is a sacrifice. And he said, we take these sacrifices to the place where Yah your Elohim shall choose out of all your tribes to put his name there. And he only chose one tribe to put his name in. And that was the tribe of Yehudah. And that place is Jerusalem. Yahweh didn't choose us to sacrifice the Passover in any other place. Not the land of Naphtali, the land of Dan, the land of Benjamin, the land of Issachar, or any other tribe other than the tribe of Yehudah in Jerusalem. That's where he chose to place his name. So all those who call themselves sacrificing the Passover, they doing it to their own destruction. Because if you tremble at the word of Yah, would not you fear him? And if you fear him, would not you obey him? And if you obeyed him, it's only one place that he chose to place his name. And not only did he say that, watch this in the book of Deuteronomy 16. Let us turn there again. Not only he says you sacrifice the Passover in a place where he chooses to place his name there, and we're speaking about the Passover, the next holy day, the second holy day. Watch what it says in the 5th verse. Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates, which Yah thy Elohim giveth thee. In other words, Yahweh gave us 12 gates, 12 different gates. He said, we're not to sacrifice the Passover within any of these gates. And then he gave us other cities outside these gates. We're not to sacrifice there either, let alone in our enemy's land. Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates. In other words, this is not what the Sabbath day say, but this is what the Passover say, which Yahweh thy Elohim giveth thee. But at the place which Yah thy Elohim shall choose to place his name in, there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at even, at the going down of the sun, at the season that thou camest forth out of Egypt. And watch what Yahweh say. And thou shalt roast and eat it in a place which Yah thy Elohim shall choose. And thou shalt turn in the morning and go into thy tents. Not only were we to sacrifice it, we also was to roast and eat it in a place where Yahweh chose to place his name. I don't know how one can be more direct. So what are we to do during the Passover season? Well, you're definitely not to sacrifice the Passover, and you're definitely not to follow your enemy's way of keeping the Passover. So what can you do? Well, you rehearse these mighty acts to your children. So when the Passover comes, you teach your family. You teach your children. And what we do at the house of Israel, we teach the congregation and the people on what they to do to rehearse, to memorialize, how to reenact the Passover in a season. But we don't touch no lamb, no bitter herbs, or none of those things. We just teach it. And yes, we teach it throughout other days, but especially that night. And where were we that night? We wasn't coming out of Egypt like our enemies teach. Let me show you what the Passover actually means so you can understand exactly where we were during the Passover. In the book of Exodus, the 12th chapter, the 27th verse. In the book of Exodus 12, and this is what it says in the 27th verse. Let's start at the 26th verse. And it shall come to pass that when your children shall say unto you, what mean ye by this service? That ye shall say, it is the sacrifice of Yahweh's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses. And the people bowed their head and worshiped. In other words, we was in the house all night during the Passover, and this is the night he delivered our houses. Not the night that we were brought out of Egypt. This is the Passover. This is how we celebrate the Passover. While we in our enemy's land. And this is what the people got to know. Leviticus 23 again. The very next holy day that Yahweh would discuss is one that will come the next day after. And this is what it says in the 6th verse. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto Yahweh. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. In the first day ye shall have an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. But ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yah 7 days. And the 7 days is the holy convocation, and ye shall do no servile work therein. So what is this talking about? This is the sacrifice of unleavened bread, which is to be celebrated on the 15th day of the first month. Now, this day, we did come out of Egypt, but not just this 15th day or on the 15th, because we came out on the 15th. But little do people know we came out the night. It was on the 15th. And we began to start our journeys out of Egypt all that day. But then when we got to the Red Sea, or the Sea of Reeds, we encamped there, and we were trapped between the sea and the Egyptian army. And Yahweh told Moshe, lift up his rod, that the waters will separate. And why did Yahweh do that? Because the only one that can separate the waters is Yahweh. What you think he did on the second day when he made the heavens? He separated the waters. What you think he did with Israel and Egyptians? He separated us from them. And this was an indication that Yahweh will separate us forever from the Egyptians. And he will make a difference between us and the Egyptians. So how are we to celebrate the Feast of Unleavened Bread? Of course, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, according to the word of Yah, let me show you what it says. In Deuteronomy 16 verse, watch what it says. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before Yah thy Elohim in a place which he shall choose, just like the Passover, in the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The very first one, he's saying we must appear. Now you might ask yourself, well, I thought Passover was the first one we were to appear in. Well, although we were in Jerusalem on the Passover, we were in our houses. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. We were in our houses. But in the Feast of Unleavened Bread, we were not in the house. And Yahweh wanted us to appear before him, before his sanctuary. Watch what it says. 3 times a year shall all thy males appear before Yahweh thy Elohim in a place where he shall choose. In the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and in the Feast of Weeks, and in the Feast of Tabernacles. And they shall not appear before Yahweh empty. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of Yah thy Elohim, which he have given thee. And not only there. Watch what the Creator say in the book of Exodus. the 23rd chapter. Speaking about the Feast of Unleavened Bread. This is what he says. 14th verse. 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in a year. Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread, which is the very first one. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded thee in the time appointed of the month of Abib. For in it thou camest out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. None. That's the feast of unleavened bread. Furthermore, in the book of Exodus 34, the 18th verse, the feast of unleavened bread shalt thou keep. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, as I commanded thee, in the time of the month of Abib. For in the month of Abib thou camest out from Egypt. Here it is, once again. So we know in order for us to keep the Feast of Unleavened Bread, we must be in Jerusalem. And we must appear before Yahweh. But there, unlike the Passover, there were certain things that Yahweh told us to do in all our dwellings. There were certain things we had to do in our house. And you might ask yourself, what is that? Well, let me show you what that is. Starting in the book of Exodus, the 12th chapter. In the book of Exodus 12, this is what it says. In the 15th verse. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. This is what you do in your own house. You eat unleavened bread, and you put away leaven out of your houses. If you do that, you got to do that before you go to Jerusalem. Before you go to the place where he chose to place his name. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. In other words, you're going to eat leaven just because you don't have to go to Jerusalem? No. He told you to do this in spite of you going to Jerusalem or not. You had to eat unleavened bread for 7 days and put all the leaven out of your houses. And he said the soul that don't do it shall be cut off from Israel. And watch what it says. In the first day there shall be a holy convocation. And where is that? Well, if you're in Jerusalem, that's where the holy convocation would take place. And in the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation to you. And if you was in Jerusalem, that's where you would keep that. No manner of work shall be done in them, except that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. And ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread. For in this selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. And what is the ordinance? And it's going to tell you what the ordinance is. Watch what it says. 18th verse. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in a land. Ye shall eat nothing leavened in all your habitations shall ye eat unleavened bread. Where do you do that? In your house. Where do you take it out at? In all your houses. This is not something you just do in Jerusalem. How do I know that? Because everybody didn't stay in Jerusalem. What about the houses in the land? Well, you take it out. And what about the houses outside the land? You take it out. Because the soul that don't do this shall be cut off. Furthermore, in the book of Exodus 13, third verse, and Moshe said unto the people, remember this day in which he came out from Egypt. What day was that? The 15th. Out of the house of bondage. For by strength of hand, Yahweh brought you out from this place. So what are we to do to remember it? There shall no leavened bread be eaten. That's how you remember it. This day came ye out in the month of Abib. And it shall be, when Yahweh shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, which he swore unto your fathers to give them. In other words, you weren't even in the land yet. A land flowing with milk and honey, that thou shalt keep this service in this month. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and the 7th day shall be a feast to Yah. Yes, you keep that in the land. But watch this, 7th verse. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall no leavened bread be seen with thee, neither shall there be leaven seen with thee in all thy quarters. And thou shalt show thy son in that day, saying, this is done because of that which Yahweh did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt. And it shall be for a sign unto thee upon thy hand, and for a memorial between thy eyes, that Yah's law may be in thy mouth. For with a strong hand have Yahweh brought thee out of Egypt. Thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in its season from year to year. So this is how we celebrate the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Even though we can't have a holy convocation the first day, because we did that in the place he chose to place his name. And then the 7th day, we did that in the place where he chose to place his name. But the eating unleavened bread and the putting away leaven out of our houses, first of all, you have to do that before you go to Jerusalem. Put the leaven out. It had to be out for 7 days. And of course, the eating of leavened bread is to signify, is a sign to let us know that we might remember what Yahweh did when he brought us forth out of the land of Egypt. It's just a sign. Just like the Sabbath is a sign, so is unleavened bread is a sign. Going back to Leviticus 23. Now we have the first fruits. Now, how are we to celebrate the first fruits? Well, watch what Yahweh say. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, speak unto the children of Israel. And you notice, when do you keep the Sabbath day? Where every 7 days, on the 7th day itself. When are you to keep the Passover? The 14th day of the first month at even. When are you to keep unleavened bread? On the 15th day of the first month. Now watch the date in which you keep first fruits. Watch what it says. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel. Say unto them, when ye be come into the land, which I give unto you, and ye shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. What first fruits you got to take to the priest? You don't have no first fruits to take to no priest. You're not reaping no harvest. And even if you was, you do this when you come to the land. And watch what it says. And he shall wave the sheep before Yahweh to be accepted for you. On the morrow, after the Shabbat, the priest shall wave it. And ye shall offer that day when ye have the sheaf and a lamb without blemish of the first year, the burnt offering unto Yah. The meal offering thereof shall be 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto Yah for a sweet Savior. And the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, the 4th part of a hin. And ye shall eat neither bread, nor parched corn, nor green ears until the selfsame day that ye have brought an offering unto your Elohim. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. A lot of people say, well, this one say in all your dwellings. Yeah, it is all your dwellings. You're supposed to bring a sheaf unto the priest. The first fruits of your harvest. What harvest do you have to take to the priest? And where are the priests? In Jerusalem. And watch what it says. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the way offering. 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath ye shall number 50 days. And ye shall offer new meal offering unto Yah. Ye shall bring out of your habitations 2 weight loaves of 2/10 deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baked with leaven. They are the first fruits of Yah. And ye shall offer with the bread 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, 1 young bullock, 2 rams. They shall be for a burnt offering unto Yah, with their meal offering, their drink offering, even an offering made by fire of sweet savor unto Yah. Then ye shall sacrifice 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering, 2 lambs of the first year for a sacrifice of peace offerings. And the priest shall weigh them with the bread of the first fruits for a wave offering before Yahweh, with 2 lambs. They shall be holy to Yah for the priest. And ye shall proclaim on the self-same day, that it may be a holy convocation unto you. Ye shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. And when you reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not make clean riddance of the corners of thy field when thou reapest, neither shalt thou gather any gleanings of the harvest. Thou shalt lead them unto the poor and to the stranger. I am Yah your Elohim. So here it is. It's telling us our first fruits. We're supposed to do this in all our dwellings throughout all our generations. And we're supposed to take a sheaf of our first fruits to the priest to be weighed before Yah. And when are we to do this? So you won't be confused. Well, let me show you. Deuteronomy 16. Watch what it says. This is your first fruits. This is the feast of weeks. Watch what it says. Deuteronomy 16:9. 7 weeks shalt thou number unto thee. Begin to number the 7 weeks from such time as thou beginnest to put the sickle to the corn. In other words, the Feast of Weeks is when we are to begin reaping the first fruits of our harvest. When are we doing that? Who got some first fruits of their harvest to reap? Our people don't even own land. Our people in captivity. And then if we did have land to reap a harvest, it says we're supposed to take this to the priest. And where are the priests? The priests are in Jerusalem. We know they are because this sheaf is supposed to be waved before Yahweh. There is no part of this holy day that you can do. As a matter of fact, not only our people don't have a harvest to reap, the wave before Yahweh, there is not one date that Yahweh gave. The Sabbath day is on the 7th day. The Passover is on the first month, the 14th day at evening. The Feast of Unleavened Bread is the first month, the 15th day. And what date did Yahweh give for the Feast of Weeks? He didn't even give a date because the date is predicated on when our first fruits come in. And then we're supposed to take our first fruits to the priest to wave it before Yahweh. And how can we celebrate a day and we have no first fruits? Furthermore, Yahweh even told us, going back to Deuteronomy 16, in the 16th verse, 3 times a year shall all thy males appear before Yahweh Elohim in a place which he shall choose. And watch this. In the Feast of Unleavened Bread and in the Feast of Weeks. That's where we to go. No wonder we can't do none of this. We don't have no harvest. We don't have no first fruits. And we're not in a place where Yahweh chose to place his name. So you might ask yourself, well, then what do we do? Well, we do what we're doing now. We teach on it. And we let the people know how we celebrated our first fruits. What other holy day did Yahweh have for us? The very next one. In the 23rd verse. It says, Leviticus 23 and 23. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, in the first day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. And see, every time people see this offering made by fire unto Yahweh, little do they know this is what the priest did. This is not what the people did. But how are we to celebrate it? Well, exactly what Yahweh said. Speak unto the children of Israel in the 7th month and the first day of the month shall you have a Shabbat, a memorial of blowing the trumpets in the holy convocation. And this is what we to do. And this is what we do. So we will come together, have a Shabbat, and let me show you how our people celebrated this in the days of old. In the book of Nehemiah, the 8th chapter. Turn there. Now, Yahweh said nothing about you had to do this in a place where he chose to place his name. No, he didn't say nothing like that. He didn't say when ye become to the land. He didn't say that. He didn't say you must appear before me and thou shalt not appear before me empty-handed. He didn't say that. He just simply let you know that you are to have a memorial blowing of trumpets, a holy convocation, and ye shall have a Sabbath. In the 7th month, on the first day of the month. And look how our people celebrated it. In Nehemiah, the 8th chapter, this is what it says. First verse. And all the people gathered themselves together as one man into the street that was before the water gate. And they spake unto Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the law of Moshe, which Yahweh had commanded Israel. And Ezra the priest brought the law before the congregation, both of men and women, and all that could hear with understanding, upon the first day of the 7th month. And there's only one holy day that you're to celebrate on the first day of the 7th month, and it's called the blowing of trumpets. And he read therein before the street that was before the water gate, from the morning unto midday, and that's what we do, before the men and the women and those that could understand, and the ears of all the people were attentive unto the book of the law. And Ezra the scribe stood upon a pulpit of wood, which they had made for the purpose. And beside him stood Mattithiah, and Shema, and Ananiah, and Uriah, and Hilkiah, and Maaseiah on his right hand, and on his left hand, Pedaiah, and Mishael, and Malchiah, and Hashum, and Hashbaddanah, Zechariah, Meshullam. And Ezra opened the book in the sight of all the people, for he was above all the people. And when he opened it, all the people stood up. And Ezra blessed Yahweh, the great Elohim. And all the people answered, Amen, Amen, with lifting up their hands. And they bowed their heads and worshiped Yahweh with their faces to the ground. Also Yeshua and Bani and Sherebiah, Yamin, Akub, Shabbatiah, Hodiah, Maaseiah, Kelita, Azariah, Yosabad, Hanan, Peliah, and the Levites caused the people to understand the law, and the people stood in their place. So they read in the book of the law of Elohim distinctly, and gave the sense and caused them to understand the reading. And Nehemiah, which is the Tushatha, and Ezra, the priest, the scribe, and the Levites that taught the people, said unto all the people, this day is holy unto Yah your Elohim. Mourn not, nor weep. For all the people wept when they heard the words of the law. Then he said unto them, go your way, eat the fat, drink the sweet, and send portions unto them for whom nothing is prepared. For this day is holy unto Yah. Neither be ye sorry, for the joy of Yah is your strength. So the Levites stilled all the people, saying, hold your peace, for the day is holy, neither be ye grieved. And all the people went their way to eat and to drink and to send portions and to make great mirth, because they understood the words that were declared unto them. And this is exactly what we do. We have a great feast, we have great mirth, and we make sure all is fed. The blowing of the trumpets. And we read the law to give the sense and cause the people to understand the reading. Going back to Leviticus 23. What else would Yahweh have us to do for our holy days? The 26th verse. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, also on the 10th day of this 7th month, that was the first day, but now we on the 10th day of the 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto Yah. And ye shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before Yah your Elohim. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. And whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people. Ye shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generation in all your dwellings. Just like the Sabbath day, in all your dwellings. This was not like the Feast of Weeks, where in the Feast of Weeks it said in all your dwellings, but before it says in all your dwellings, it says when you become to the land. Before it says in all your dwellings, it says you bring the first fruit of your harvest. Before it says all your dwellings in the Feast of Weeks, it says not only you to bring your first fruits, but you were to wave a sheep before Yahweh. But not so with the day of atonement. It says, ye shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generation in all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest. Ye shall afflict your souls. In the 9th day of the month at even, from even unto even shall ye celebrate your Sabbath. And this is also what we do. So on the Day of Atonement, from even unto even, we fast. No water, no food. Why? Because Yahweh said we'd afflict our souls. And the soul that is not afflicted in that same day shall be cut off from his people. And what did he mean by afflict yourself? Well, that means you are to humble yourself. And how did Yahweh desire us to be humbled? Did he desire us to do 100 jumping jacks, to run a marathon? Did he desire us to humble ourselves by cutting ourselves and whooping ourselves in the back? Going to the gym, working out? No. Yahweh calls us to be humbled by stopping us, refraining us from eating bread and water. Just to show you a quick example of this, so you can have evidence. Because there's some people out there tell you that to humble yourself, you just look humble. But they can't tell you how that is supposed to be. And watch what it says in the book of Psalm 35. I just want to show you this example before we get to the last holy day. And watch what it says. This is what King David said. '11th verse. False witnesses did rise up. They laid to my charge things that I knew not. They rewarded me evil for good, to the spoiling of my soul. But as for me, when they were sick, my clothing was sackcloth. And watch what the scripture says. I humbled my soul with fasting, and my prayer returned into my own bosom. And this is how Yahweh desired all the righteous to humble themselves. And how is that? Through fasting. And this is what we do. We fast. And if you fast, according to the scriptures, the way that Yahweh desires us to fast, your heart will be humbled. But if you fast the way Yahweh don't want you to fast, you're not going to have no humble heart. And here it is. We got people eating on the Day of Atonement. They call themselves keeping it, but then they will drink and eat. And then at the same time say they humble. How are you humbling yourself and you won't even humble yourself to the Creator's word? The last holy day. Going back to Leviticus 23. In the 33rd verse. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of the 7th month. In other words, we dealt with the first day of the 7th month, the 10th day of the 7th month, and now the 15th day of the 7th month shall be the feast of tabernacles for 7 days unto Yahweh. On the first day shall be a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire to Yah. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you. And ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein. These are the feasts of Yah, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh, a burnt offering, a meal offering, sacrifice, drink offering, everything upon his day, besides the Sabbath of Yah, besides your gifts, besides your vows, beside all your free will offerings, which Yah give it unto Yah, which ye give it unto Yah. Also on the 5th day of the 7th month, when ye have gathered in the fruit of the land. This is what you do when you gather in the fruit of the land. Our people ain't gathering in nothing. But yet they call themselves keeping something. When ye have gathered in the fruit of the land, ye shall keep a feast unto Yah 7 days. On the first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath. And ye shall take you on the first day the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, boughs of thick trees, willows of the brook, and ye shall rejoice before Yah your Elohim 7 days. And ye shall keep it a feast unto Yahweh 7 days in a year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. Ye shall celebrate it in the 7th month. Ye shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelite born shall dwell in booths, that your generation may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths. When I brought them out of the land of Egypt, I am Yah your Elohim. And Moshe declared unto the children of Israel the feast of Yah. And this is what we're reading. And you might ask yourself, well, Mowreh, are you dwelling in booths? Well, the reason that we're not dwelling in booths, because Yahweh wanted this to be done 7 days. And where did he want this to be done? He wanted this to be done in our generations in the 7th month, and he wanted this to be done before him. In other words, he wanted to watch this happen. And where did he want this to happen? In Jerusalem. Watch what it says in Deuteronomy 16. Sixteenth verse again. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before Yah thy Elohim in the place where he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before Yahweh empty. In other words, when we went to Jerusalem, we dwelt in booths for 7 days. Now, many of our people today will dwell in booths. And I don't begrudge them. And I don't say you're wrong for attempting to memorialize this great day. Because there's going to come a time where the Creator said, all the families of the earth shall come up to worship the King, Yahweh of hosts, in the Feast of Tabernacles. So this is a great day. So I understand it, and I'm not going to say you're wrong. So you want to dwell in booths? Even though our people did it in Jerusalem, even though our people made a pilgrimage to Jerusalem to do such a thing, they honor and keep the 7 days according to the law. This is what they did. But I did see scriptures, unlike the Passover, unlike the Feast of Unleavened Bread, unlike the Holy Convocation that you will find in the Feast of Unleavened Bread in the book of Nehemiah. Again, the 8th chapter. Last scripture I want you to see concerning the holy days. I just want you to see this. 13th verse. And on the 2nd day were gathered together the chief of the fathers of all the people, the priests, the Levites, unto Ezra the scribe, even to understand the words of the law. And they found written in the law which Yahweh had commanded Moshe, that the children of Israel should dwell in booths in the feast of the 7th month, and that they should publish and proclaim in all their cities and in Jerusalem, saying, go forth unto the mount, and fetch olive branches and pine branches and myrtle branches and palm branches and branches of thick trees to make booth as it is written. So the people went forth and brought them and made themselves booths, every one upon the roof of his house and in their courts and in the courts of the house of Elohim, and in the street of the water gate, and in the street of the gate of Ephraim. And all the congregation of them that were come again out of the captivity made booths, and sat under the booths. For since the days of Joshua, the son of Nun, unto the day had not the children of Israel done so. And there was very great gladness. Also, day by day, from the first day until the last day, he read in the book of the law of Elohim. And they kept the feast 7 days. And on the 8th day was a solemn assembly, according unto the manner. And you say, Mowreh, well, they did these on the roofs of their houses and in their courts and in the street of the water gate and the street of the gate of Ephraim and the courts of the house of Elohim. That is true. But you notice in the 17th verse, and all the congregation of them that were come again out of the captivity made booths and sat under the booths. They didn't do this while they were in captivity. They did this when they came out of captivity. Are we just to ignore the word of Yah and go by the imagination of our own hearts? No, we're not. Furthermore, it plainly lets you know in the 18th verse, also day by day from the first day and the last day, he read in the book of the law of Elohim, and they kept the feast 7 days. In other words, they kept the feast. And we're not to keep a feast that Yahweh told us to keep in the land. And yes, he told us to keep this in the land when we gather in all our fruits. And I'll just read this one more time. The 16th verse of the 16th chapter of Deuteronomy. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before Yah Elohim in the place where he shall choose. In the feast of unleavened bread, the feast of weeks, the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before Yahweh empty. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of Yahweh thy Elohim, which he hath given thee. These are the feasts of Yahweh. This is how the feasts of Yahweh are to be observed. Especially in captivity. So until tomorrow, Yahweh love you. And so do I. Shalom.